So if you don't know PureFlix, they're that studio that produced masterpieces like God's Not Dead, God's Still Not Dead, and for real, he's still around. All the movies that, Christians watch to make up for not going to church weekly. But I'll say this, I'm always willing to give a movie, no matter what kind of movie it is, the benefit of the doubt. And while I think that this one is just a stream it for me, it does have some good scenes. Let me explain. So this movie is based off of the New York Times best-selling book, the Bible. It's like the opposite of the Quran, but like part 1 to the Book of Mormon. And we're following Samson, who just so happens to be the religious figure of this chapter, who kills a lot of people, sleeps with a lot of people, and disappoints his people. A lot. If you watch most Christian movies, you know that they usually just cast a bunch of British dudes, so it's cool to see that for this one they also cast another British dude. But at least he looks like Jason Momoa. Samson's this real buff dude who everyone wants to be judged so he can rule over the people a bit, but he's not necessarily king, and he's always just pass, I'm gonna go hit the gym. He's like the original inspirational meathead. God gives him the strength, and he protects his people from all of the bad Philistines. The problem is, though, is that the prince from the Philistines listens to a lot of Anthrax, and he just loves screwing around with the poor Hebrews just to be extra edgy. And even his dad, who is played by the bad guy from Titanic, playing Kingpin, playing this king, is like, son, you gotta chill. Samson falls for this girl named Taryn who, ain't even in the Bible. And since she works for the Philistines, the prince uses her to get to Samson since he's too much of a punk to do it himself. They both turn into the Riddler on Samson's wedding day for whatever reason, but both of them don't get the concept of what a riddle is. Samson loses his, so they steal his wife, obviously, and he has to find 50 tunics to be able to repay the dude, so he just runs off screen, he finds a random army, one punches a dude to death, then Tyrese's the rest of them before undressing them to bring back the tunics. He takes the tunics to the prince, and the prince is like, nah fam, you're too late. They try to arrest him, but there's an hour 20 still left in this movie, so they obviously aren't. He gets away, and he starts coming up with this revenge plan. His idea, in order to get his wife back, is to turn a bunch of foxes into Charmanders so they burn up the crops, and the prince is like, bruh, kicks his wife and father-in-law off of the roof, and they did. Samson then becomes super depressed and hides in a place where no one can find him. His brother finds him, and he turns himself in so the Philistines stop messing with his family. But right before they're about to Ned Stark my dude, they kill his dad, he gets enlightened with the Force, and my guy takes out an entire football field of soldiers. All he's got is his donkey bone, and he's kicking their donkeys. This guy has the master cheat codes to the game since, he knows the Lord. And while whoever shot this forgot how frame rates work at time to make it slow-mo, Samson makes the bigger mistake by letting Jasper from Twilight live. A couple years pass by, and for whatever reason, that means that they can't afford razors, and my dude ends up with those Abraham Lincoln beards that they give you for the, 5th grade play. And finally, he meets Delilah, which, I've been waiting for what inspired the song. Turns out that Delilah is actually the prince's wife, but this guy, as we know, even after years, is still so obsessed over Samson and his strength. He's like one of those lurkers on bodybuilding.com who stalks other dudes' profiles because they're so swole. He sends his own girl to flirt with Samson in order to get to him. Now I'll say this, while Delilah's close to being a 10, and I get why he fell for her, Samson's still prettier. Look at those cheekbones. They hit it off, he starts smashing things, less violently, and there's this scene which I don't have the full clips for, just these couple of frames, in where a mob of people try to pitchfork him to death in this Philistine town, and what he literally does is pick up the gate of the city and break it apart so he can escape, which is cool. But when you really want to flex on your haters so you go a little extra? Well, this dude carries the big old door, exits, and then carries the door for 20 kilometers just to prove a point. And no one goes after him to, poke him. Anyways, it's what Delilah does to Samson that's the climax of the movie, because, he has 3 rules that God gave him in order to keep his superpowers. 1, don't drink wine. 2, don't touch dead stuff. And 3, don't get a fade. Well, Delilah makes sweet, passionate PG-13 love to him, and he knocks out, and this snake over here cuts his hair, relinquishing his powers, and setting himself to get arrested, and have his eyes gouged out. This is why I have insomnia. The prince becomes king since he front stabs his daddy, and he brings Samson to him so he can be executed. But if you know the story, Samson, even though he's blind, gets magically close to a pillar. He gives one last praise to the Most High. Queen Latifah and Steve Martin cameo as he brings down the house, destroys all the idols, destroys the budget, and they all dead. Epilogue then talks about how this pioneered the Jews to then set up kings, which, spoilers, don't really work out, but it also sets up the story of a young boy named David, who with just a rock took down a massive giant in order to be able to give the Hebrews power. And also continue this PureFlix cinematic universe. Thank you guys for checking out this video. As always, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Like I said, some of the action scenes were a little iffy for me, but overall the story I think was a little too prolonged because, you know, we all know Samson for his interaction with Delilah and his strength, and they added like a whole another hour to this movie that didn't need to be there. But I'm curious to know your thoughts about this movie, any other movies you want me to cover. Obviously, there's a lot more PureFlix coming out this year with God's Not Dead 4 or 3, whatever one it is, and you know, just let me know your thoughts on what you want me to cover. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will send you screening passes to God's Not Dead 10. For real, I just talked to him.